It's a special kind of fear that you feel when time seems to be getting away from you, and you've got this picture of the future that you want to create for yourself, and not just for yourself, for everybody that you love as well, for your community, maybe even for the whole world. You think that your contribution is that important, you know, you just want to add your thing. And then I get tired, I get frustrated, I get knocked off my path. I try to flow as much as I can, but in my career, I'm expected to be extremely flexible, and shifts get cancelled and booked at the last minute, and I'm in this constant dance with my career. And then I'm trying to include relationships and family and building a future. Like, I think my career by itself would be enough of a dance. Like, it's complicated enough. If all I had to do was manage going to work, like, I'd be flat out for the rest of my life. And that's why I'm talking about this fear of like running out of time kind of thing, or almost feels like running out of space, like I can't do it all. This has been coming up a lot for me lately. I feel guilty. I feel like I'm disappointing people. I'm letting people down because I can't fit in everything that matters to me. And, you know, there's kind of a hierarchy of obligation almost. Like things that absolutely must happen before other things. And like my shifts at work are like you can't not show up to a shift kind of thing. Even if it is like you've sort of had your arm twisted and it's a last minute change sort of thing. It's worse. I don't mind so much a last minute booking. A last minute cancellation is what really throws me, because I could have used that day to do something much more in alignment. So, yeah, this fear is coming up. This fear that I'm sure a lot of people have felt in some way or another, and it's compounded, it's made worse when you're scared that you're sort of wasting time. That's one way I could express this fear, the fear of wasting time. Like, you have things that you want to create, what you want to do, people you want to spend time with. I guess as well, like a lot of people that talk about depression kind of say similar things, like maybe depression is the ultimate expression of this fear, because you get into such a deep feedback loop where you're afraid that you're wasting time. You, like what I expressed, I feel guilty, like I'm letting people down, I'm disappointing people, and then all of those emotions sort of rob you of your energy and your focus, and you're more worried about your guilt and disappointment than, you know, just doing the thing that you know you need to do today. And if that cycled and cycled and cycled, eventually you'd be at a place where all you can think about is the guilt and disappointment, and even the fear that time's just getting away on you and you're doing nothing with your life. And, you know, you could kind of bury yourself with that. That's not where I am, but I guess that's like the spectrum of it. Like, I'll experience it for a few hours or a day. Sometimes I get kind of stuck in this place where I'm like, for me today, it was like, it's so simple. All you need to do is record a video diary. That's the only thing you need to do today before you start your shift. You got ages because it's an afternoon start. And somehow I just got into this conflict with myself where I believed that I couldn't focus, and there was there's another piece to it. Like, this felt so important to make this video. Like, this video today just like took on this ridiculous level of importance, and failing to record something would have felt like I really let myself down, and I disappointed myself, because then I'm sort of expressing this as I'm acknowledging it in myself. Like, I don't actually know until I say it, but if I didn't record this video, then that would be one more thing on my to-do list to do this week sometime. So I really, the fear gets amplified when things start to stack up. Like, if I had an opportunity to get something done and I didn't do it. And I think that's why when my shifts get cancelled, it affects me as well, because part of my belief in the present moment is I need to earn X amount of dollars every fortnight to create the future that I want to create. So if a shift gets cancelled, that means I've got to make up that time. If a 10-hour shift gets cancelled tomorrow, that means a day in the next, if it's the end of the fortnight, or maybe I've got like 3 days spare, and one of those days I was going to do XYZ, and now I've got to book myself a shift so that I can get that guaranteed security and cash flow. And that's where I really get into this spiral of conflict with myself, because I know a 10-hour shift right now pays me money right now, but if I continue to work on big picture stuff for my future, maybe it actually costs me money to work on that stuff for the day, but it might pay off like 100 or 1,000 times more than a Saturday for 10 hours shift. And I know that, but it doesn't help to know that when I get into this. Actually, it does help to know that, because right now, as I'm going through this stuff with myself, I'm realizing, yeah, everything's sweet, everything's okay. When I finish this video, I actually did the video. And this is a little trick that I have with myself. If I can't pull myself out of a thought spiral, let's call it, then I just talk about the thought spiral. Like, this is what I'm thinking and feeling. It's still what I'm thinking and feeling. I would love to have, brought myself back to balance and being 0.0 and very direct with what I was sharing. But sometimes, if you've been going over something again and again for hours, which I have, and you're not getting anywhere, one of the best things you can do is express it. As soon as you express it, then it can leave. Like, then it makes sense. You think that it makes sense already when you're kind of just like ruminating and thinking about stuff. But I don't know. I definitely have more clarity now than I did the entire rest of today, this morning. I thought that I was kind of working my way through it, just quietly and internally without expressing it. But now, in hindsight, looking back over my morning, and this is what I really did. I'm going to be totally honest with myself. I would start to think about it. Would start to deal with it for real. And you can deal with it internally without expressing it. But the difference between expressing it on camera like this, or writing it down in a journal, or any way that you're going to express it, and you don't have to share what you express. The difference is, I'm noticing this right now, that it's too easy to bullshit yourself when you do it internally, because what I was doing is I'd start to think about it, and then I'd be uncomfortable, and then I'd scroll on my phone, or I would make a cup of tea, or I would do something, anything, eat some food, just to change the subject internally. Like, I just need to do this first, and then I'll come back to it. And then I just need to do that, and then I'll come back to it. So I was like kind of not getting beyond a certain point, because I was just going back to the uncomfortable feeling, sitting with it for a moment, and then avoiding it and repeating that over and over again. Whereas because I've created this practice of, I turn the camera on, I hit record, it's not edited. I just have to express a stream of thoughts and feelings as they arise. And I know that that's the deal that I have with myself. So even if I was uncomfortable at the start, I can't just go make a cup of tea or scroll on Facebook, because we're in the process now. I've committed to moving through whatever it is that's coming up inside of me. So it's pretty cool. And the reason why I don't do so many videos like this is because I have another fear, which I can express now, that I don't want to impact anybody negatively. Like, I don't want to feed anybody else's doubt or fear, or in this case, I'm feeling guilt, and I'm feeling like I'm going to disappoint people because I can't fit everything in and I'm not doing enough. So if I just get on camera and talk about what I'm struggling with, what my problems are, I quite often feel like I'm contributing negatively. And that's kind of, sometimes I feel the opposite of that. I don't always think that. I often think that, but sometimes I feel like when I look over my videos, I've ended up doing that anyway. I've ended up sharing a lot of the things that I'm struggling with, a lot of the problems that I'm overcoming, and it's quite negative. It's got a lot of negative core to it, like the center of it's negative. It's like negative, 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 and then this is the positive. Like, this is what we can glean from these lessons. And I never intentionally do that, but then when I look back over my content and I see all this negative stuff, I'm like, I've got to bring more positivity to the world, because I don't want to be feeding everybody else's negative emotions. So it's like this paradoxical kind of thing that I have with myself. So that's why I avoid just expressing what I'm struggling with, even though I quite often end up doing just that. When my intention is to share something positive, it's still like negative, negative, negative. Now let's make it positive. And of course, I can see that there is value in this kind of sharing for other people as well as myself, because, like I said before, what I tend to do is I want to deal with what's going on inside of me, and I start to do it internally, but then I feel uncomfortable and then I avoid it. So I think what happens is similar. I'm just thinking out loud here, but if that's what's happening for me when I turn the camera on and I start recording and something uncomfortable comes up and I just sit with it, maybe that's what happens with the viewers as well. And it's a similar commitment. They've decided, I'm going to watch this video today, especially if you're a regular viewer, and whatever comes up, whatever I feel as Kai's talking, I'm going to sit with it. I'm not going to avoid it. Maybe sometimes you do. Maybe sometimes you're just nah, not today. I'm going to X out. That's not my issue. It's not I don't want to go there. I want to go somewhere else. I'm actually feeling quite good. This is quite negative. Maybe I'll find a more positive video of Kai's, or maybe I'll just forget about Kai altogether today. Who knows? But there's definitely great power in a process where you can't, or you commit to not avoiding discomfort, and you just go through whatever it is that you're feeling. So today I was feeling fear that I don't have enough time, which of course I know is if you zoom out far enough, you can see that it's just nonsense. It's absurd to talk about I don't have enough time to do things, because you've always got more, as long as you don't die. Of course there's going to be more obstacles. Things are going to change all around you constantly. Maybe shifts get cancelled, maybe new expenses appear in your life, maybe you crash your car breaks down. There's always different things that are going to exacerbate your fear that maybe you can't achieve everything that you set out to achieve. But even the achievements themselves, like, they're kind of arbitrary if you zoom out far enough. I made this stuff up. Like, I decided this is what I want my life to be like, and now I'm like feeling fear because I'm not arriving in the future that I'm imagining. Like, it can happen when it happens, or it can never happen. Like, one thing that I've definitely learned from all of my experiences is being on the way there is what feels good. Like, I don't necessarily need any success or any particular experience or any particular possession, or there's nothing that's going to make me happy. It's like I'm most engaged when I'm on my way, when there's like something that I want to create or something that I want to make happen, and I can see steps that I can take in that direction. That's what feels good, being on the way. That's what it's all about, right? That's like, people are trying to teach us that all the time. It's about the journey, not the destination, all those cliches. I'm there. I'm definitely there. But I think we all are. But then we kind of, like, we all do. You can't not love the journey. Like, it's automatic. You feel the best when you're on your way to your goals. You don't feel the best when you arrive at your goals. Everybody's had an experience where they've arrived at something that they thought was really important and immediately felt like, what's next? Like, I can't wait to do something else. But I think we do trick ourselves into thinking that we will be happy when we get there. But there's really no there to arrive at. So just like we trick ourselves into thinking I'll be happy when I get there, I'm kind of tricking myself in the present moment into thinking like I can't feel good, like I'm going to feel fear and worry about this disappointment and guilt until I get there. And that's kind of what happiness is. It's the absence of all that other shit. Like, that's one way that you could define happiness, is the absence of like all your quote unquote negative emotions and suffering, like a moment where you're just free, free from all of that. So that's what happiness is. Like, I'm saying, like, once I get through this period where things are challenging and I'm doing all these things that I don't want to do, and my schedule's being manipulated by forces outside of my control, and it's frustrating and it's distracting and I can't focus, it's so poor me, can't do it, I'm a little victim. Once I get out of that, once I free myself enough and I have enough agency and control over my own destiny, then I'll be happy. But then when I arrive there, I'll just be like, okay, now I've got all the free will, agency and control, and I can choose to do anything I want to do. Now I've got 10 times more responsibility because I have to decide what to create from here. Like, at least, when you've got other agencies in your life, whether it is a physical agency like an employer, or, a manager, or like even a wife, like different things, different people that have a stake in your life and like where it's heading. Like, you got like more input, like, so you can kind of, if they're contributing to the plan for you, then they're also taking a little bit of responsibility for the outcomes. Whereas, like, if you were totally free, then you're totally responsible. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people actually avoid freeing themselves completely, like taking responsibility for their lives. Like, because all of you, if you're able to understand a video like this and you're still listening, then you have the capacity to imagine a life better for yourself, where no matter how damaged or broken you are, what disabilities, mental illness you have, like whatever you're going through, if you're able to understand these words, then you're able to imagine a better life for yourself. And if you can imagine a better life for yourself, then you know how to create a map that will lead you there. And then once you've built that map, then you're right where I am right now. Like when I get to that end of that map, then I won't have all of these issues anymore, and then I can be happy. But then if we can just remind ourselves what I relearned in this video, that when I get there, it's not really, there's no end to this path. Like I arrive and then it just becomes the beginning again. Like I create new goals, I imagine even better for myself when I start heading in that direction. Of course, it's more interesting depending on the starting point of your journey, you know. That's another thing about this happiness paradox thing, like, no, I won't go there. At the risk of completely changing the message that this video is currently sort of transmitting, I will leave it at that. If you get anything out of these videos, please click the like button for me. Leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear what you're thinking and feeling in the present moment. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And you can always check out my website, kailives.com, for more information, documentaries, films, all kinds of things. Stuff that you can access that can actually change your life right now.